Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted, and today I'm joined by
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarch Steve. We went the opposite way. It's all messed up.
It's supposed to go in a
I
circle
thought we were
this
still
way.
going to go clockwise, so I didn't say anything.
All fouled up. What do we do?
It's ruined. It's all ruined. I tell you.
All right, we gotta stop it and start over.
Yeah. We have to go back in time. Clearly, that is the only solution that is going to work. We have to Superman it and go really fast and reverse the rotation of the planet because that's how time travel works.
Can we just do Flash?
I have a confidence that if I punch Ted hard enough, he will be in the past and be able to do it. Would you like to test?
No, not really.
No, thank you.
We'll definitely ruin tonight's plans.
No, we will win. and the storyline I have in my head will be the only storyline.
Yeah, we have this. The table is covered.
Only partially.
Well, partially covered with a blanket for the end times of Narcitus tonight.
Final session of Narcitus. It's been over 4 years of running this game.
Curse of Narcitus.
Yeah, but we have a topic to talk about.
Indeed, so we'll get into that stuff later.
Yeah, so, actually, right when this ends, pretty much over on Twitch, the RPG Sports is kicking off today, I guess, with their first bracket.
Yep.
And, they're going to be doing battle PvP for competitive Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, there was a time that no one thought this was ever going to be a possibility, and here it is. It's happening.
Except in like a basement, basically. Like
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of odd for a cooperative game. I mean, I'm sure plenty of nerds have done this before. I know in one of the online streams that I play in, from time to time, if they don't have enough people for the game, they've done arena-style battles. I believe, the Critical Role, after Season 1, they did a battle.
Actually, multiple times throughout Season 1, they did a Battle Royale. I know at the finale they do one, and then somewhere in the 90s they did one because the characters were 17th level. And it did not go the way most people thought it was going to go.
Druid won.
No.
Oh, no.
Druid did not win.
Too many hit points. But, actually, when you get up there, you got to whittle the Druid down a little bit and just use a death effect. And then, I mean, it's true for any character, really.
You gotta weigh the hit point scale. You're like, well, he's bigger than a squirrel, smaller than a rhinoceros. I bet if I did 40 points of damage, I could death curse him. Finger of death, right?
Finger of death, disintegrate, power word kill. There's definitely a couple things that once you get reduced down, it doesn't lower your hit points to 0. It just kills you.
It just kills you, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of fun things that can be done. The one Battle Royale that I did watch, like I said, it was like 4.5 hours of just, the combat. And there's a lot of tactics that can get into it. And, if you decide, I'm going to go hide, I'm going to go not be a part of this for a while, you don't get to weigh in, but you might wind up being able to survive because you're not attacking someone else. No one's attacking you back.
Just simply attrition.
Yeah.
That's definitely a way. So I guess the way they're doing it, and I mean, there's kind of been a couple things that have kind of some drama that's unfolded while they've been doing it. One of the big things is there's a prize for the winner. There's a $5,000 prize that's being put up for the winner of the Battle Royale. So that's kind of a big deal.
That is absolutely a big deal.
I believe there's 4 teams. So 2 teams are going to square off, and then there will be a finals for each. They're basically 4-man kill squads. There's through first through third rounds, they're going to introduce magic items into the mix. And the magic items that the players will get are soulbound. So it's not like you can murder someone and snake their magic items in and start using it, on your side. And then it was I think it's round 5, they're going to begin introducing traps. And then round 6, hazards. I might even have those backwards to add to the mix.
One of the random monsters going to come into the gladiatory pit.
Maybe. I don't know if that's in there or not, but that'd be kind of fun to throw in there, and it just randomly starts attacking people. That would definitely change things up. Now, there's also an Iron GM competition that we've had the guys that run that on the show before, where they would, basically it's a room full of DMs, and the DMs are given it, like, I believe it's like an hour prep, and there's like 3 elements that they have to incorporate into an adventure. And then I guess at the end of that adventure, like, everyone at that table has certain criteria that they vote on, or like a questionnaire they fill out, and maybe they have like judges walking around as well, and then they tabulate all that information to come up with a winner. And like they do, I'm pretty sure they do it tournament style too, where like they have it at specific events, but then it begins adding up. And the tournament style, where like they get finalists until you finally have like the champion, the Iron GM.
Wow.
Stephen Rowe, we've had him, or Stephen Rowe, we've had him on the show a couple times. He's an Iron GM, which is kind of a cool thing.
I'd wonder, where I'd rank.
I don't know. You'd have to go through the thing. So apparently there's this one guy that kept winning like all the time, and like so he would be like, they would like announce the tables, and he would leave to go to the bar, and he's just like, hey, someone text me when it's time to come back. Like, he wouldn't even take the ideas with him, like the 3 things he's got to incorporate. He'd come back like 5-10 minutes beforehand, and then it'd just go, and it was just like, it would just crush everybody anyway.
Well, I mean, some people, they got the skills to be able to do that kind of stuff, and if he apparently isn't taking the full hour and still winning, then clearly he's got it.
He's got it. Yeah, so, I don't know, so what do you guys think? Like, we had, in the early days of Nerdarchy, talked about doing RPG Fight Club. Like, I think we might have grabbed the domain name, and there might be a Facebook group out there. This is like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
We just never did anything with it.
I mean, there were many ideas of Nerdarchy that are still on the cutting room floor. But, I mean, the concept of D&D PvP is something that I think we've all struggled with, and this and that. We've told the tale of
it's never been good for the table, I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, we've had times where there's been serious aggression and death threats laid on the table. There's been headlocks, there's been all kinds of stuff. Sometimes it's out of game, but sometimes it's in game. And it's like, this is never, as you said, it's never good for the table. But if you approach the situation that, well, this is just that. I mean, we've all played fighting games, on consoles or what have you, and no one gets upset if, your Ryu beat my Ken. It's not a big deal. It's part of the game. So if you approach it from the avenue of that's the way it's designed, that's the way it goes, well, you lost. Better luck next time.
Well, you're not risking maybe 2+ years of investment into a character, so it's not very difficult to give up any hard feelings you'd have about your character dying. You're like, whatever.
It's like, you know what? I didn't make the best, or I didn't have the best rolls. I mean, any combination of factors could weigh into that. So,
got a question in the chat already.
Sweet, go for it.
It's from 2A Debate. What is going on with Ravnica between Spore Druid and Fallen Azamar Aura? There could be some crazy stuff in these matches.
We'll jump into that in a little bit. That's actually on our docket to talk about a little bit.
I think he meant in the matches in the RPG game. The
Oh.
PvP thing.
Oh, I don't...
Well,
it hasn't happened yet.
Stay tuned for 3 o'clock and head over to Twitch and go check it out.
Yeah, because today it is Team Mind Flayer versus Team... Oh, wait a minute.
Team Kobold.
Yeah, Team Mind Flayer... Team Kobold versus the Team Mind Flayer is Heap 1. Heap 2 is Beholder versus Tarask.
All right, well, I'm voting for Team Mind Flayer.
Is that just because you like...
Mind Flayers?
Mind Flayers are cool.
Well, then I'll take Kobold. Because Kobolds are cool. They might be dragons.
I got a Mind Flayer dice bag hanging over there on the wall. So.
But I believe it's going to be... So the way it's going to work is there's a bunch of pre-generated characters, and each team is going to be able to eliminate certain characters from the pick.
Got it.
So, I've seen other draft things go this way as well. And so each team will be will vote, I don't think the druid should be in this, or I don't think the the barbarian should be in this or the specific one. And then they get rid of those, and then I don't know how the drafting will go, but then I think they get to pick their characters from those the pre-mades that are available.
Interesting.
So their chances are they haven't even
picked them yet.
Well, they haven't made them, so they may not necessarily know. Although they are online, so like if you go over to the RPG website, we got links in the description, of course, as always, for the different characters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 of them from them to pick from. I don't know if it'll be the same, for all the heats, if it'll be the same characters that they have to select from.
Particular levels working on, or
I would think they would all be the same levels. These look like links, but they're not clickable.
maybe they're just not on your phone.
They might just not be on my phone, but usually you can click links on your phone.
So, like, with the competitive stuff that we've done in the past, up on the channel, we had done a Duergar versus Drow, but that was more of a monster versus monster type scenario where we made XP pools that were equal and set them against each other. Duergar wound up winning. Woot woot. But, I mean, we haven't done a whole lot of PvP, and at our own tables, it is something that we kind of have discouraged. I ran a game this Thursday for my kid and his friends, and there wound up it wasn't so much PvP, but there was definitely some contention versus what a player wanted or a character wanted and what some of the other characters wanted, and there was a little bit of a roll-off. There were spells that were used, and it was an interesting thing, and I was, I had no idea whether it was going to, fall into just out-and-out combat. Thankfully, everything did wind up resolving, play wound up continuing. But it was a little bit contentious there for a moment.
Friendships were not lost?
No, there was no friendships lost.
So I was able to open one of the character sheets. They have the character sheets so you can see them over on D&D Beyond. And the first one I opened was definitely 4th level. So I'm going to guess they're all going to be the same level. I'm going to open up a second one to see. Yeah, so the two that I opened are 4th level. It's best out of 3 matches is how they're running it.
Is it
so no fireballs, huh?
No fireballs, no.
Is it standard array? From what you could tell.
You know what? I closed that already.
Probably.
It's probably standard array, I would imagine. That would probably be the easiest. But yeah, if you go over there, you can download the rules, how things are going to go. It's back and forth on your picks. Both sides get a ban. And win conditions are eliminate the opposing team. Simple enough.
Simple.
Yeah, and like I said, 1 through 3 magic items are available on the map during this time. Set the spawn locations, which is kind of cool, I guess. Round 5, traps. Round 6, environmental hazards. So, add some interest to it.
When you've got, combats that go over long, traps and hazards is definitely a way to begin, siphoning off those last remaining hit points.
So, at first, I wasn't sure if they were going to do it this style, like PvP, or if it was going to be more of like teams of adventurers that work together to accomplish goals, almost like an Xcrawl. Like that might be kind of cool if it was like that.
Well, you could have gauntlets. I mean, this once you start doing this format, you can do all kinds of stuff added on.
Yeah, capture the flag style. You can do how long, like have one team run through a dungeon and capture the flag style, and literally it could be a time thing. How long did it take them to get capture the flag, and then you run the other team through, right? And especially you do it in a way where the teams don't know what happened, so
right.
They don't know what they have to contend with.
Or you could also do where you do each board is malleable, so you have like your side of the fence and their side of the fence, and you can just do whatever you want to it. You get a certain amount of traps, certain amount of other things. Figure out, like you'd have rules like your flag has to be accessible, but it can have traps around it. And
Glyphs of wardings, all the glyphs of wardings.
the flag's just waving with a glyph of warding on it.
Not a symbol stun. Symbol kill.
So DM Don is saying, not a really question, but last year for Drinks and Dragons 1-year event, we did 5 tables of players doing PvP. The last standing got passes to Unpacks Unplugged and free stuff. It worked out pretty well. Also, one of the things I guess I saw was the folks from RBG Sports, they're looking to, target the more competitive gameplay people and get them into D&D. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I mean, the video game crowd is massive. So being able to, drag some of them people this way, who knows?
There's a lot of crossover as well.
I guess the other problem, as I would say, would be the fact that if you're enticed to check out D&D because you watched this kind of scenario, and then you get to the table, well, it's a completely different game. Like you're like, this is someone pulled the bitch, the switch, bait and switch. If you put them together, you get bitch on you. So I mean that might be problematic. It may not really be a good way to bring new people into the game because that's not really the game that we play.
But if it opens up the market for that level of play, then perhaps that will become a new thing that is out there and potentially doable.
Or DM's gonna have players show up and they keep trying to murder the other players.
Like, all right, I'll get all the loot if I can eliminate all the people.
It's all mine.
There's so many different ways of playing D&D as far as the Dungeon Master, like the style of Dungeon Master. So it's significantly different, but it's like as significantly different as someone who does most social stuff compared to someone who does a lot of combat. So.
And then I guess the bigger question is how exciting is it going to be to watch? Like how are they going to do it and what in the format? Because personally, when I watch stream games, I generally find the combat to be the least exciting part of the game.
Well, I mean, I'm in incomplete accordance there, and the only reason I, spent the time, watching the Battle Royale. Number one, when I do watch Critical Role, it is in the background. I'm listening while I'm doing my regular day job. But there was investment in the characters. I was aware of, who they were. Whereas here, you are being presented with completely new characters right from the get-go, unless there's some kind of story, unless you can totally, do like the wrestling thing, allow them to come out with personas and try to ham it up. Like, I don't feel that there's going to be as big a draw on that aspect.
I think it's exactly the opposite, because this is what it is. Okay, so a TPK happens. It's going to happen every time one of the entire group's going to die. But in a regular game, you actually don't want that to occur. You're not rooting for that to occur. In this, you're anticipating it happening to one of them.
True.
And soon. So it's a completely different format. I'm not looking at this as like, oh, it's watching D&D combat. Yes, when you're trying to get through an entire story on stream, the combat bogs it down because you can talk faster than the dice rolling and figuring out all the stuff that can happen. Because it's the least narrative part. But all the narration, everything's cut out. You're not looking forward to anything else. There is just this. So it's a very streamlined concept with a win, pass fail at the end.
That's true.
So
they are going to have commentators.
Wow. That will make it much more enjoyable. especially
Lorelania is Tia. She's going to be one of the commentators, and she's always a blast to have on a stream. So I know she's one of them. I don't know who else they have for commentators.
Sydney.
Sydney's going to be one of the commentators as well. Okay. So, it could be a lot of fun. It could be interesting depending on what they do with it.
I mean, if you approach it from these commentators are existing in the D&D verse, this is a tiefling and she's happened to be rooting for this such and such a team and they're going to go
if
blah,
they're
blah, blah,
actually
blah, blah.
playing characters, that would be really funny.
That'd be a lot more enjoyable than to just I'm Sally from California and I'm just gonna.
Well, and that's the thing too. How are the players going to interact during the game? Are they just going to be essentially a gamer moving pieces around on the board, or are they going to be playing the characters while the battle's going on. And that's going to be hard because you're talking about characters that maybe they haven't even looked at or seen yet, or they don't know who they're going to end up with. You know, so the characterization almost has to happen like as soon as it starts.
Yeah, if they RP the combat, that'll definitely make it more enjoyable, rather than just simply treat it as the combat system for Dungeons and Dragons.
The downside of this being a live event, you don't have the inserts that you could possibly do, where it's like, oh well, you know, I really meant to go and do this, but I rolled a natural 1, which means I fell down the stairs and this thing happened. It's like you could really get that interview style of like the competition shows that are on now.
Well, maybe afterwards you could do that, because if it's like an interview, like, hey, you know, they really rung your bell in the first round and slaughtered you. What do you think about that? You know, so that you could.
Yeah, that you know, certainly could be a way of getting in there. I think, you know, like that's one of those things that I think is crucial to the competition, is that, you know, during or post interview.
So this is definitely being a thing, is going to be a thing. How successful it is or not, we'll see. But I guess the question is, do you prefer this style, like PvP, or would you like to see more of like an Xcrawl style?
I would much rather go with the more goal oriented, as opposed to head versus head. I think it could definitely be made far more interesting.
Head versus head, is that official sports talk? Is that what they say when you're playing
Head-to-head competition, I think.
Head-to-head,
My question, which was smiling about earlier, my question to people that are going to do the post-interview stuff is, are they going to come up with better answers than, we played a tough game, but the other side just played better? Because if you can come up with a better answer than that, like every other sports person ever interviewed about a loss or a win, then
well, I mean, here you
get like special XP for that. You gotta get special XP.
Here you can literally be like, well, the dice just weren't with us.
You know, are they gonna? Are the
That's
players,
actually a worse answer.
Yeah.
Then they played a better
Are the
game.
players gonna come out on the field beforehand and, you know, pray to Loth or whoever? The mind flayers, they have to pray to the Elder Brain.
Yes.
So as far as
Or is that the coach?
the crawl compared to like the gore and thing, I think the concept is, let's say you did this and this was more prevalent. You had more games. You can have like amateur league. You can have semi-professional. You can have like just people streaming this style combat, and then you can have special events where you'd have. It's kind of like, so for example, in a lot of first-person shooters, they'll have, you know, just kill each other, you know, 8 versus 8 or 4 versus 4. And that's the majority, I'd say, of the games. And then there's objectives. So you can just do the head-to-head fight to the death, and then you also have people who don't want to do that, and they'll do specific things, like they want to do the dungeon crawl. They want to see how far can you get in this tournament for Tim Horrors or whatever.
When do we get the Running Man style game?
That's definitely something to do. Running Man is a great movie, and you could absolutely do something with that.
You could do it with other characters or characters, NPCs. You could use monsters instead. You have one person playing them. Yeah, and then you could do cool things like having the people being streamed to like voting on it.
You could literally pull up the different champions, and the crowd could determine who goes in next, similar to what they did in Running Man.
There's a question in the chat that I think is great. Would it be better XP bonus or inspiration for cutting a good promo in character? Well, first of all, it should be inspiration and not XP. I don't see XP being very valuable in this. But inspiration would definitely be great.
Inspiration would be amazing to get.
Inspiration, some kind of boon, some kind of, something that's going to mechanically be helpful.
Well, they said there's going to be magic items, right?
Right.
Yes.
So having some mechanism for gaining an inspiration would probably be a really good thing to include.
Yeah, I mean,
not so much up to some referee, but more like you've found a token or something. Like you've explored a strange area. You might have wasted around, but you gained an inspiration for it.
That or static things like, are you able to use a trap against one of your enemies? That deserves inspiration. Not just they wandered into it while you're fighting them, but you you pushed them into it or
you
something.
You manipulated the situation.
Yeah, like
to cause them.
creative bonus points or something that just you cash in or something.
Or that your opponent grabs the potion. Now it's soul locked to them, and no one else can use it. But your archer shoots the glass, breaking it and making it worthless. That's worth inspiration to me. Yeah, you could definitely see like coming up with some things beforehand and be like inspiration.
Frankly, I think a potion should not be soul locked, but that's just me.
Well, it's still magic.
Yeah, I think they said all of them are, but maybe not.
I guess if there's regular healing
It
potions,
looks like all the magic items are potions. So
Okay.
that's
like
why.
of strength or all that.
Yeah, there's actually a list over on their site.
Well, it's probably good because then they can't last for very long, and you can use them when you choose.
Yeah, there's one use item. So let's see. There's a list here. And we got potion of speed, slipperiness, heroism, power, speed, slipperiness, and aura of power. I'm not sure what the aura of power is. Aura power. Okay, so until the end of this match, you receive one use of inspiration.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go.
So so these are things that are going to pop up, and there's 8 of them. So it gives me the impression that someone's rolling a D8 when they, when the thing drops to find out what it is.
It's a possibility.
So now kind of like we've done stuff on the channel where we did it once, I think. It was kind of fun. It was like in the early days. It was probably like the most creative thing back then we did with production, and that was when we did the Duergar versus the Drow.
Right.
And I think you and Ryan ran the Drow.
No, we were the Duergar.
Oh, well, we're the Duergar, and you two were the Drow.
You two were the Drow.
No, I was a Duergar. I was on the losing side for sure.
I thought it was a Duergar.
I think it was me and Nate versus
I don't really
Ryan.
recall anymore.
Oh, I remember I won.
There's video evidence.
You were
of
the
this.
Drow.
Oh,
the
so
Drow won.
The Drow won? I thought Duergar won.
Nah, you guys were able to summon shadow demons,
Fairy fire.
invisibility in 5e is kind of like it's just disadvantage until someone casts fairy fire on you, and then it's not even that.
Yeah.
And then the Duergar back then didn't have any special NPCs, so like we had to actually create them for the fight.
Right.
And I think we just used like a priest or something from the back of the monster man.
But a Drow being able to summon a shadow is pretty pumpty.
When and the Drow already had like special NPCs to use.
Yeah, the Duergar in earlier editions, you could go invisible, then cast enlarge, and be able to hit, and that's when you would get seen. Well, now you can't. Both enlarge and invisibility are both concentration, so you can't have them both going at the same time.
Yeah, and invisibility, like before, you had to figure out where they were, and now you don't even really have
Now
to
it's just disadvantage.
It's just disadvantage.
So it is a shame,
But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we'll have to revisit some of that stuff. We got all this fancy equipment now.
Yeah, we could have multi shot everything.
Yeah.
Post battle interviews.
Yeah. So and that's the other idea. Like, is that going to be an evolution too, where maybe you have it, either two GMs going head to head. It's almost like Magic the Gathering, right?
Yeah.
The idea where you're throwing out monsters.
Mm-hmm.
When I did PvP with my friend Matt, we spent like 5 or 6 hours making these really ridiculous Archmage characters, and it was basically Magic the Gathering, just without the cards. Because we would just summon stuff to throw it in each other's way and like disintegrate. Like, oh, you summon that, bam, it's gone. And just back and forth. So that's what it devolved into with Archmages. So.
Back in the good old days. So, I don't know. There's been many questions. I don't know if people are interested in this or not. But either way, after we're done streaming, they're going live, so you can check it out.
Well, it hasn't been really a question, but a lot of people are speculating if you're going to see a lot more like character builds and becoming more popular, like amongst you guys and just on the internet in general because of this. That are geared towards.
I don't know. Geared towards the battles. Yeah.
Kind of like how people make Adventure League stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe Nerdarchy will start a series, RPG sports character builds. if there's a demand, we might just do it.
So we got some books here to that we can talk about a little bit. We've got a list of players here for your fan game this month. I got a little contest that I'm going to run. In celebration to my campaign ending tonight. So, where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
Let's show off the books. We shot our first impression video of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. We are hoping to be able to get that up this week. That is the goal.
So when you
willing.
When you do watch watch that video, we have a contest that's going to be going for you to be able to win these books. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, you just got a blue super chat from Fantasy Grounds College.
Hey.
They're in the house.
Fantasy Grounds. Woo, woo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it as always. Yeah, so we got that going on. I guess we should announce who's going to be in my fan game. And I'm going to pick the date right now.
All right. So while you're picking the date, I can go and read off the list. And
I'm thinking the 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern time.
All right. So we just mentioned their name, but
That's funny.
So the players that have been selected, we've got Michael A. Fleming, Zachary Nansakilville. I apologize for butchering that name. It doesn't say this, but I'm going to read the last name anyway. Ty Johnson, Scott.
I was wondering if it was him.
Ray S. Logan Johnson, Fernando De Leon Tajarina, Dan Atlas, Flashpoint, and the Fantasy Ground College.
I think you missed it.
No, I said it. Scott Hill.
Oh, okay.
Said it.
Oh, sorry, I missed.
So those are the 10 names that have been pulled for this particular month.
The first 5 that respond will be in the game.
I will get this list to Dave. He will reach out to the group, and he'll be able to put that out there.
Yep, I'm putting it on my calendar right now.
So as we mentioned earlier, I am finalizing, or I'm finishing up the campaign tonight. The Curse of Narcotis has been going on for over 4 years at this point in time. This is the first to 20th level game that I've ever run, and the boss battle, the epic finale, will be tonight. I've put in a crap ton of work, which if history continues the way it does, it's probably going to suck, because if I do a lot of work, the players hate it. But in response to that,
This is the guy who's reading off the paper again.
And the players see.
the players and I wound up making their minis. I wound up getting some extra, so I have a mini of Lyndon Hemsworthy, Arbelé San Mirdan, and Henri Lucky. I'm not doing his whole last name, sorry. So I'm doing something different this time. If you want to win these unpainted minis that are Hero Forge, you can reach out to me at nerdarchist@nerdarchy.com. Let me know who your favorite character is from my game, and one of the things that you liked best about the game, and I'll take all the valid entries that I get via email, and I'll pick a random winner and get these sent out.
Where can they send that email to?
nerdarchistted@nerdarchy.com.
Ooh, using that fancy nerdarchy.com email
Yes,
address.
using that, and since everything else has been, getting inner Nerdarchy communication and getting my press badge for PAX Unplugged, really don't have a lot of Nerdarchy emails in there. So,
Speaking of PAX Unplugged, there's a question from DM Dan. What, if any, plans do you guys have for PAX Unplugged this year, like meetups and so forth?
nothing has been planned other than we're going. I am probably going to do the Reaper Bones patent take, but I've made no official plans for anything yet.
Is there going to be a WizKids one too?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I know there's a Reaper patent take.
I really enjoy the WizKids unpainted minis.
Uh-huh.
Their painted ones, not so much. But the unpainted look awesome.
Well, I mean, it's bizarre that there is a a hard line between the quality of the Paizo minis and the D&D minis.
It's not really surprising. It's literally probably a quality tier that's been chosen by one company over the other.
Yeah, and then they have their average, what's acceptable, what's not.
I love the WizKids minis. I've been collecting them for years. The 3.5 stuff was pretty fantastic. I do think it's been a step down with the current stuff. Although there's some things that do step out above the rest. I really like the Wardlings minis. They make really great halflings and gnomes. Or if you're going to play RPGs with kids, whether it be Hero Kids or No Thank You Evil, or literally just playing Kid Adventurers, it could be a lot of fun. But then the companions could be familiars. They can be animal companions for your rangers, or just interesting monsters, because they are definitely taking some solid derivations away from things that haven't been there before. There's a little tiny genie. There's some kind of rock creature. There's like some small plant creature, and the quality on them I think is pretty fantastic.
Fantasy Grounds College question: any plans for an RPG Turkey Bowl one shot? Because Thanksgiving's coming up.
We normally do the night before Thanksgiving a Spelljammer game. It is up in the air as to who's actually running it this year.
Yeah, so Thanksgiving Eve, I started years ago the tradition of us playing a Spelljammer game, but then when I got involved with Saver Dice, that game happens on Wednesdays. So we were actually supposed to play the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I think some of the cast was traveling or something, and it wasn't going to work. So at the last minute, we kind of switched gears, and then Ted ran a Spelljammer game, which I had a ton of fun playing because I played my Turtle Drunken Master, which I would definitely love to dust him off for sure.
Well, I would have no problem running again, for this one. I've literally had ideas of what I planned on doing, for the next adventure since literally Thanksgiving of last year. So,
guys, just gonna leave Mark stranded on that asteroid forever, huh?
Forever. Probably. The fun thing to me was, if I were to run again, was coming up with a reason why they had to work with Mark's character to do because that would have been the final one where they got to 20th level.
Right.
Or it would have been the final one we would have done at 20th level.
At 20th level, yeah.
Yeah, and of course Mark's character would have eventually got off that asteroid somehow. His patron willing. And that would have definitely been interesting. And then I would have had to cook up some reason for them that need to work together.
Yeah, that Thanksgiving game is literally why I've learned that Warlock going back to the blade. When you get to the higher levels, it's just an inferior path because you're devoted to doing damage in melee. And once you start getting your invocations and using 5th level spells, it's just swing your sword and do meh, or cast a spell and go rawr.
Yeah, even Eldritch Blast at that point, you're getting 3 or more beams. You're probably adding your charisma modifier to it. At that point, you could swing your weapon twice, and I mean, I guess you could use the Warlock Smites to do more damage, but you're gonna go through those spells pretty quick too.
Yeah, because you don't, as a Warlock, you're not, you can't use your invocations for that because they're separate. They're not spell slots of the invocation, so it's weird. I don't know. I just don't think that particular build works out well, and my Warlock is just like, yeah, I don't know.
Folks, you've heard it here from Ted. Warlock, most overrated class in the game.
That's not what I said. I said choosing to go back.
Gotta read between the lines.
Back to the blade, not the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Warlock. It's thematically cool, mechanically blah. You know, after you only get so many things you can do, and if you're not getting those short rests, then, you know, even it gets a little bit better with Pack of the Blade for Hexblade, because you do have your curse you can do. Again, you're limited on that, and you get to use you get to double down on your charisma for for stat, but you know still it's, in my opinion, and it's always been, if you have a Gish and your option is hit it with a weapon or cast a spell, the spell is probably going to be better.
It's true.
So I think there was some other questions too, right, Doug?
I haven't seen any.
There was the Thanksgiving one, and then I thought there was one, a lava trap or a lava hazard, something about that. Lava.
Oh, it didn't. It just says, "Can y'all give me a lava puzzle for my D&D game?"
A lava puzzle.
Yeah.
Survive. Find a way around. Find a way through. Lava's one of those things that it's tricky. It does a crap ton of damage, and it's incredibly lethal if you're not protected against it. So
I think it does make for an interesting hazard, though, especially if you have walkways, if you have places where the lava is going to randomly kind of like pop and bubble and splash.
I mean, you could literally have, something that you've got a walkway over a large lava pit, and you've got something that's annoying, there to deal with. And it's not really combat, but if you're not careful, you can go over the edge and say goodbye.
Well, I mean, that could be it, like a bunch of causeways that some of them are solid and some of them aren't. So, part of it might be figuring out where it's safe to go. Did you bring your 10-foot pole into this dungeon or what? Yeah, so that might literally be the puzzle. Pretty straightforward. You might do some foreshadowing, maybe the room is shaped, like a bowl, and you can maybe get halfway around on the edges, but at some point you have to take one of these causeways, and maybe they can see that they're crumbling. Maybe they step on one, whether it's a good one or a bad one. They see pieces of it crumbling. You can give clues like that to make it apparent that not all of these walkways are safe. And they have to try and pick it out. Like, maybe if they acknowledge nature, and they make a good check, you could give them some clues. I wouldn't probably absolutely tell them the way, but I'd rather give them clues and have them try and figure things out. And maybe they come up with creative things, they throw things on certain ones to test them. Or you could always do, the same scenario, but not so much where they collapse, but where they have to do fights so they can push people into the lava. They themselves might run the risk of being pushed into the lava.
It's like, all right, my hammer pitting into the rock. Everybody gets tied off. We're all attached.
We either all make it or nobody makes it. So, but if I were to do the thing where you're pushing people off, especially the players, I would give them a second deck save to try and grab on, so they're dangling.
Yeah,
it's not one and done.
I would be really against, the one fail is just a dead character. Those things really go bad. Because let's face it, we all know somebody who either is having a bad day with dice, or just is bad with dice in general.
Or maybe you do in the lava itself, there's floating stones that you fail, you get pushed off, you fail your save to catch it. You can try and angle for one of those, and then if you go right in the lava, you're gonna take massive amounts of damage. But then you can get out onto one of those, and maybe being on the rocks is a bad thing too. Maybe you take a die 6 of damage each round just from the heat.
But it's better than being in the lava.
But it's better than being in the lava.
The player in my RPG crate game, Fraginator, he's horrid with dice. He's like, I much prefer playing characters that, cast spells and they need to make a saving throw, because if I don't have to roll a die, all the better for me.
It's not my fault. I could definitely emphasize with that, especially if you have horrible dice luck.
And sadly, Mike does.
That's what he gets for being bad at dice.
Well, he makes up for it by being a phenomenal role player.
Oh, there you go. So hopefully those ideas helped for the lava. So Ted, what do you got going on for tonight?
So I've actually I made a battle map. I've I've crafted some obviously I've crafted the stats for Nardarchist himself. I had actually a while ago tried to figure out what I wanted to use as a mini for Nardarchist. I originally had gotten, this guy, and you're like, oh, that would be a cool Nardarchist. But to me, this looks, very golem-y, very undead like thing. So I'm like, this isn't going to work. I need to come up with something. So I wanted something.
He's impressive enough, is what you're saying. But
he's impressive, but thematically,
he's not dripping blood enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got bodies attached to him all over the place.
So I'm like, I need something. So I started looking through my collection. I wound up finding something that I thought would work. It was definitely out of the box. I actually got Jake to paint it up for me. He did a spectacular job. So that's sitting off there in the weights. I've done some work and some research into getting some other things that are going to be some linkages to the past of this particular game that I think are going to be fun and interesting. Nerdator Doug has decided he would like to join in and take part in the epic finale.
We're just gonna kill him as soon as he shows up. He's clearly there to betray us.
Well, that's going to be between you guys. We'll see how that all winds up going. And then as Doug and I have been talking, there's some other things that wound up coming up, and I'm like, oh, I like that idea, and I like that idea, and I've got a lot of fun layers involved, and I'm excited for what I've got there, but I've got it planned that I can either dial up or dial back, the challenge of it, depending upon your guys' decisions and how everything's going, because the last thing I want to have happen is to have it either to have it be a steamroller in either direction. This is supposed to be the finale. The last session was pretty crazy. We actually ended a little bit early, which actually led to some interesting developments for how I can get Doug in. Which is which worked out best, because I had originally planned that tonight's session was just going to be combat and aftermath, but now there's going to be role playing before and then aftermath after. So
that was way more information than I thought. I was just fishing. I know we do have this battle map that I keep wanting to peek at.
Well, you'll have to wait until it's time for the reveal.
I feel like a kid before Christmas.
I did.
And I was totally the kid that would sneak down. I would unwrap gifts a little bit.
I was naughty. I found out where the stuff was before it was wrapped. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is exciting. This is going to be our first campaign completed from level 1 to level 20. I wrapped up the Scarlet Sisterhood, but we started at 5 or 6. So it was fulfilling, and it was close to that feeling, but it wasn't quite that. We were a couple sessions off, I think, for being 100%.
Right.
We didn't start at first level.
Well, this is an amazing feeling for me. I'm nervous because it's something I've never gotten to do, and I've struggled given the constant varying number of players at the table, the varying power levels of the characters involved, and it's like, all right, how is combat going to be handled? And I know that some people weren't really happy with the slog fest of the last combat, whereas other people, I'm certain, had a blast. So it's again, you have that mixture. So here I'm like, all right, well, clearly you guys have gone from 19th to 20th, so there has to be some downtime between where we start and where the battle is, because you guys are not going to go fight a demon lord after having just fought what you fought. But I want there to be haste. I don't want it to lollygag.
She's gonna level up. Da-da-da-da-da! Stop.
Here's a question from Xerift Gaming.
Go for it.
In a competitive game, who would win? Dave, Ted, or Nate?
If it was like 3rd edition or AD&D, I would think Nate would win, but because he was very good at really manipulating. No, actually, it was AD&D, where manipulating the multi-class system.
Dual classing, baby.
I would not vote for me. I tend to have a lot of fun, but I don't always have my my lines down of what's the best combination. I do enjoy trying to find little crossovers and little things. I've got some character builds that are in the works that are pretty ridiculous for certain things. But would I have the ability to make the most powerful if I were to be in a competition? I doubt it.
I'm going to go with Dave just because he personally has that, salt the earth mentality.
I'm going to kill your character and your family and salt the earth where they live.
5th edition, my vote's for Dave.
So, yeah, I would totally go down that road. But, yeah, in a 2nd edition, when Nate and I played together, we were in a campaign. I was kind of like the foremost good guy. Our friend Nick was like the foremost bad guy, and Nate would dance around on the edges, and he would heal me every time the anti-paladin would cast harm on me, and every time I killed the anti-paladin, Nate would bring him back to life. It was a pain in the ass.
He was just there to fuel the flames. Essentially, keep that rivalry going.
Yeah, so by the time
I was Growl,
by the time I was 20th level, he was 17, 18, and back then you got the full casting power of all of them. So yeah, he wasn't running out of spells anytime soon.
Also in AD&D, if you could go with psionics were very, very broken.
Yeah, he was 17th level wizard, 18th level psionicist, 18th level cleric, or something along those lines. So yeah, he had it all.
It also seemed like, even with splitting XP, after you get to a certain point, it just seemed like the level difference wasn't that much between the multi-class character and the single-class character, especially for all the power that you got.
Oh, yeah.
True.
I enjoyed multi-classing and still do. I think it's a lot of fun. It took some work getting me used to the 3rd edition and 5th edition style of you devote a full level as opposed to dividing XP as Dave was talking about. But it's still a lot of fun and still
it's a better system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it allows you to make characters that you wouldn't be able to make just using the single class options.
So, Jinker GM, you don't win D&D. I believe in 5 minutes or so, they're about to prove you wrong. Or at least attempt to.
Somebody's going to win.
Somebody's winning D&D.
$5,000.
Yeah, $5,000.
I'll call that a win.
Yeah. What's that, $12.50 a person for a 4-man kill squad? Not bad. Not bad for a couple weeks worth of work playing D&D.
Yeah, I could definitely get behind that.
So and what is it? I think you only, it's only really two matches, right? Because they're not doing a whole drawn out thing.
So A and B, B and C,
Yeah, it's literally 6 fights. I guess, and I guess if you win the first 2, and you don't have to go to the 3rd, there wouldn't really be a point.
Yeah, well,
unless they're going to just do them for. I don't know if there's a mercy rule or not. They're like, well, you lost 2 in a row. You can't win the tournament, and you're probably not going to win again. So, we're calling it.
So, Dave will reach out to you guys that are on the list, give you all the detail for this month's fan game. I'll throw this out there again in case you missed it. If you want to win some, unpainted plastic minis that are specific characters from my game, email me, nerdarchisted@nerdarchy.com. Let me know your favorite character and, some kind of moment that you enjoyed or your favorite moment from my game. Obviously, of the stuff that is up, because Dave has yet to get the rest up. But then the finale is tonight, and I am looking forward to it.
Someday it will happen. Let's see. I think that's the email address. Putting it in the chat for you folks to make it easier, so you can copy and paste that bad boy in and flood Ted's inbox. So with that, we'll wrap up. So you guys, if you want to go watch RPG Sports, you can go check that out. There are links in the description, as well as links to the various videos we put up, content on the website, plus a bunch of other stuff.
The contests.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.